Hello and welcome to Relatively Crafty, a knitting podcast. I am your host, Cristi. I live in the Denver area of Colorado with my husband, Ron, and our two daughters, Tatum, who is 12, and Delaney, who is 9, and our tuxedo cat, Lulu. And both the kids are off on fall break this week, so I do apologize in advance if they make any noise. I have told them that they had better keep quiet or else, but you know how it is with kids. Fall break is a weird thing for us. We still haven't quite gotten used to it. You don't have fall break in Southern California. You have summer break and winter break and spring break, so I can see the logic in fall break. But yeah, we're not used to having a week off in October. So, anyway, I am trying out a new location and a new kind of setup today. In the past, I have recorded facing the window in my library / yarn room / guest room, and I've done that in order to get enough light. The window is small in this room, and it is kind of in a corner of a room, kind of in an alcove, and so the rest of the room, while being lit enough to like see and whatnot, it's not really lit enough to record. And so this area that I'm in is kind of around the corner from that window, and it's a comfortable place to record. It's out of the way so I can keep all my stuff up and ready to go, but when I try to record here, it's often too dark. Excuse me. However, I have recently gotten an umbrella lamp, and so I am hoping that that is shining enough light on my face without making too much glare on my glasses, because that was the problem that I was having when I would face the window, is I would have all this glare on my glasses, and I don't know about you, but it annoyed me. So I know that there is still some glare, but I'm hoping it's not as bad, and I'm hoping that I am lit well enough. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, I am Cristi, as I said. You can find me on Ravelry as Cristi-Lael and on Instagram as Cristi-Lael without the dash. We also have a Relatively Crafty Podcast group on Ravelry where we have knitting talk and yarn talk and knit-alongs and giveaways. We are having our autumn accoutrements knit-along going on right now. It will be going on until December 22nd, I think. The exact date is in the thread. It's the last day of winter, or last day of autumn rather, the day before the first day of winter, and you are just encouraged to knit an accessory. The only things that really aren't applicable for the KAL are garments like sweaters and vests and those kinds of things, socks and blankets, basically. If it is an accessory to be worn on the body, then and it isn't a sweater or socks, then it counts. And yeah, just go ahead and put your FO in the FO thread. Make sure that if the item has used more than 399 yards, that you put 2 FO posts, because that counts as 2 entries. 400 yards and above counts as 2 entries. And yeah, we've got lots of stuff in there, and I'm really enjoying seeing everybody's FOs. There's a lot of really cute accessories being put up in there. And we will have prizes awarded to that at the end of the KAL. I'm still in the process of gathering up prizes. I'm hoping to pick some more things up over the next month or so. And speaking of prizes, the person who won Carrie's yarn last week or the week before still hasn't gotten a hold of me to claim their prize. So I'm going to give it one more week, but if I don't hear from them by by next Tuesday, then I'm going to go ahead and use Carrie's yarn as one of the prizes for the Autumn Accoutrements cowl. So you got one more week to get a hold of me. So if you haven't watched last podcast or the one before, I think it was from the one before, then do get a hold of me. Or then do go and watch it, and then get a hold of me if you've won. Only get a hold of me if you've won. If you haven't won, don't try to claim the yarn, because I'm on to you. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the knitting. I have a decent amount of FOs to show you, and some hose, and some whips, and some yarn, so let's go ahead and get into it. Here is my first FO. I love these socks, guys. So, these are my Hippo for Halloween socks by Lolo Did It. As you know, I have been knitting the Hippo for the Holidays yarns each month that she has put them out. And I've been very much looking forward to Hippo for Halloween because look at them. I mean, how could you not love these socks? So I used Blazing Sevens, a little Lolo in Blazing Sevens, which is probably my favorite of her solids or tonals, as the heels and toes. I did not use it for the cuffs, as you noticed, but that was because I wanted to have some left over for my cowl that I will show you in a minute. But I did my regular... that one down. I did my regular sock recipe. I did them toe up with the Turkish cast on, and then knit the foot. I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel on these with the Blazing Sevens, and then knit the leg till it was long enough, and then did a 1x1 rib with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. I love these. These will probably be my favorite Lolo socks. Although I have to say that Thanksgiving's colorway is pretty awesome too. So anyway, there is that, and I have managed to qualify for that knit along. Lolo Did It is having the Hippos for the Holidays knit along on Instagram only. And I have managed to qualify for all of them so far. There is, I think the last 3 colorways that are coming out are Thanksgiving, Christmas again. She did Hippo for Christmas last year, and then New Year's. So this isn't a January to December. This is like a February to January knit along. And so I have a Hippo for Christmas already, but I have it in her MCN Lolo's Favorite base, and I'm thinking about getting it in the plush sock because I have all the other ones in plush sock, and as I mentioned last week, I am thinking about doing a sweater, like a scrappy sweater with all of my leftover Lolos. I have this whole bag now of leftover Lolos that includes Hippo for Halloween, and this one for Hippo for Dia de los Muertos. So I've also put in some of my little bits of the little Lolos that I have left over. I might use that for like an errant stripe here and again. I haven't quite decided. I have been getting some good suggestions on some pattern options. I haven't quite settled on one yet, but that's not something that I'm going to be working on here anytime soon. That's more of a, oh, it's summer and I need something light to work on, so I'll make that sometime next year. My next FO is also a Hippo for the Holidays project, and that is Hippo for Dia de los Muertos, and that is the cowl that cowl that I have been working on, the Scaldacolo Todi by Positano Carlo de Sainz. Oh, I said that with an accent. I didn't mean to. All of a sudden, I'm Italian. Anyway, here it is, all finished and blocked. And I absolutely love it, guys. When I first finished it, it was a little bit tight around my neck, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to wear this. But I blocked it really aggressively. You can kind of see that the edges are kind of bowed a little bit because I stretched it as much as I possibly could in order to get it as wide as possible so that I could wear it. And I will put it on, but let me go through the colors really quickly. Down here is a little low in Lucky, and I striped that with the Dia de los Muertos. And then I did a basket weave design with the Muertos, and then I did a garter stripe with Elba Island and Muertos, and then there was this cable rib with troll hair, and then some more garter stripe with Lucky, Ow, I Feel Good, and Muertos, and then an eyelet bit with Muertos, and then ended with Blazing Sevens for the final rib, which I think worked out perfectly. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe the troll hair would be a little bit too loud for the whole thing, but I think that adding in the Blazing Sevens kind of pulls it together. So let me go ahead and put it on for you. I'll try to do it without messing up my face or my hair. Pretty sure I failed at that. So there you have it. It's kind of cool. I know that I will really love wearing this once winter hits properly and the wind is blowing, and I have to, take my kids to school or whatever, put on my coat and then put this on, and it's going to keep my neck nice and warm, because coats, at least my coat, doesn't cover this area, and so I'll have a hat on and my coat on and a sweater underneath it, and then, just this little square of neck right here gets cold. So I think this is going to be perfect. And I love how, the colors just kind of peek out, just little bits here and there. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I know that it will get a lot of use this winter. And I have some shawls now and a couple of KALs. I have my bobble KAL that I made last year. And somebody might think, well, you have so many, Christy. Do you really need that many? Well, yeah, because not only do I like to kind of change things up every now and again, but I have non-Coloradans who come to visit during the winter, namely my parents. And they do not have anything that is weather appropriate because they live in California. So it's good to have some of these extra things around so that they can keep themselves warm. Because not only do they not have any weather appropriate things, but they also have thin Californian blood. I'd like to think that my thin Californian blood is thickening with each passing day, and I am turning into a true Coloradan. But yeah, we'll see. It is 100 degrees in California today, and my parents called me yesterday and video called me, and they were complaining about their 100-degree autumn. And how it's just not fair that it's 100 degrees in October, and it was like 50 degrees here yesterday, and so I was wearing a long sleeve t-shirt, and we were, snuggling up with some hot tea. I do not miss Southern California weather in any way whatsoever. Next thing I'm going to show you is a hat that I've already finished. You've already seen it. But I put a pom-pom on it, and so I wanted to show you the pom-pom. This is the pom-pom that I hauled last week from Kitchen Clutter, and I put it on my hat, and I think it is adorable. I absolutely love it. I just spend all day shaking it so that it gets fluffy. brush it down, give it a comb over, and then shake it. Just having so much fun with it. So anyway, I cannot recommend enough Kitchen Clutter's pom-poms. And her bags, of course. Her bags are amazing, but these pom-poms are also very, very amazing, and she makes these all by hand. So she's got all different kinds. I'm definitely going to be ordering more from her. Just can't stop shaking it! And then I have one more FO to show you, and that is Delaney's sweater, which I just finished yesterday. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen a picture of it, but I do want to show it on the podcast, of course, so I can talk about it and give a little bit more details. The pattern is KALs by Jen Joyce Designs, and I picked this because it was similar to the flax sweater. I wanted something, the flax sweater by Tin Can Knits. I wanted something that was just a plain stockinette raglan pullover that I could knit quickly for each of my kids, something that they could wear with everything for the autumn and then under their coats during the winter. And I had originally planned to knit both of the girls a flax, but Delaney went with me for the yarn haul in August, and not the yarn haul, the yarn crawl in August, and we stopped off at the Wooden Spools yarn shop in Inglewood, and she saw this yarn and it was bulky, and she's like, "Mom, I'd love to have a blue and purple sweater." So I had to pick a bulky pattern, and KALs was perfect for that. The only difference between it and the flax is a top-down raglan, while KALs is a bottom-up raglan. So with flax, you knit it, you start with the collar, and then you knit down, and then when you get to the point where the armhole, you increase here on the front and the back, and then when you get to the point where the armholes are big enough, you take those stitches off the needles and then continue with the body, and then you go back and put those stitches back on the needles and knit each sleeve down. With KALs being bottom up, you knit the sleeves from the ribbing at the wrist all the way to the point where you would join them to the body, and then you knit the body from the bottom ribbing all the way until you would join it to the sleeves, and then you put it all on the needles together and knit up this way, doing decreases instead of increases right here and on the back. And so I thought that, well, that would be easy, but she wanted it done in 2 colors, and she wanted to have the body all purple and the sleeves all blue, kind of like a baseball t-shirt, the undershirts that they wear, and that's a little bit more difficult because I'm knitting in the round, and as you know, you can't do color work in the round like that unless you carry all the yarn together. So like I could do them as ferrule, but I would have to carry the blue yarn all the way across, and then knit the sleeves carrying the purple yarn all the way across the sleeve, and then carry the blue yarn all the way across the back while I'm knitting with the purple, and then that would have been a headache. So somebody suggested that I try intarsia, which I've done before on other projects, and I thought, well, that would work out better because then the yarns stay right where they're supposed to be. But the problem with intarsia is that it is meant to be knit on things that are flat. So you knit the sleeve to the blue, you knit the blue on the sleeve, and then you drop the blue yarn, twist it with the purple yarn to catch it to make sure there's no hole, and then you knit the purple yarn across here, and then you pick up another bit of blue yarn, twist it, and then knit here, and then do the same thing here. But the problem is that when you get back to here, the blue tail is over here, see? So you can't keep going. You can only do like one round. And I tried to find a solution to that, and one of the solutions that I discovered was that I could knit intarsia in the round using wrap-and-turns. So basically what I did is I started at the back, and I knit around to the sleeve, did the intarsia, knit the front, did the intarsia for the sleeve, went back to halfway on the back, did a wrap and turn, and then came back around this way, did a wrap and turn, came back around this way. So I knit it like this. I hope this is making sense. So like this, back and forth, and doing a wrap and turn, picking up the wrap each time I came to it, and then wrapping and turning the next stitch, and then going back, picking up that wrap and knitting it, doing a wrap and turn, and then going back. And so I did that this way, and I was able to get the desired effect. I will say that it was a complete pain in the butt to do. There was so much yarn management that needed to happen because I had blue and blue hanging, and then I had purple hanging in the front, and then I had 2 different balls of purple hanging in the back, because every time I went to wrap and turn, I needed one for this side of the back and one for this side of the back. And so it was quite a mess, and I spent a lot of time untangling all my yarns, because not only was I having to twist these yarns every time I changed color, but I had to turn the sweater around every time I went to the front or the back, and it was a headache. One thing that I did do that made it a little bit easier and helped to keep my tension even was that I knit backwards instead of purling. At this point, if I am working on a sweater especially, where part of it is knit flat and then part of it is knit in the round, I always knit backwards instead of purling. And one of these days I might do a tutorial on how I knit backwards. It has changed my knitting game. I started doing it several years ago because I noticed that my purling was so much looser than my knitting, and it was becoming a problem. And so my tension for knitting backwards is the same as my tension for knitting forwards. Plus, it's just kind of nice not to have to turn everything around when you're knitting something flat. I go from knitting all the stitches from the left needle to the right needle, and then when I get to the end, I just knit the stitches from the right needle back to the left needle. So I go like this. If you would like a tutorial on that, let me know. I'll see what I can do. But anyway, I've like nattered on for days about this. Let me go ahead and show you the sweater. Here is the finished KALs. Isn't it cute? So I knit this out of Ella Rae Chunky Merino Superwash. And the colorways are 90, grape juice and blue blood. I think it's like 92 and 96. The information is on my project page, which I always link down below. And yeah, I just kept the blue going for the sleeves, and then I finished it off with a purple collar. And I have to admit that once I got to joining everything, I stopped following the KALs pattern. Not that there was anything wrong with KALs. It's actually a very detailed pattern, and she gives you several different collar options depending on the season, which is kind of cool. This would be considered the winter because the collar goes all the way up, but so she's got some spring ones that it's kind of a lower V-neck, and then the summer one, which is an even lower V-neck, and that's, I think, it's a really cool option that she gives. But I, with all the yarn management and the troubles that I was having with that, I needed to just keep everything simple. I needed to do all the decreases on the right side row instead of on the wrong side row, and there was a couple of times where she was like, knit 3 rounds and then decrease, and that meant that I would have to decrease on the wrong side row, and I just didn't want to have to deal with that. So I basically treated it as I would have a regular bottom or top down raglan where you increase every other row. I decreased every other row until I had what I thought were the right amount of stitches, and then did the collar in 1x1 rib. And I bound off with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off because it is kind of a small collar. It's meant to sit, right at her neck. And I will say that while the wrap and turns worked wonderfly to get, the effect that Delaney wanted, there is, I don't know if you can see that, but in real life you can see there's kind of just this line. It almost looks like there should be a zipper right there. And it's minor. Delaney has waist length blonde hair, and which she wears, even if she wears it up in a ponytail, it still hangs down to mid-back, so nobody will actually really ever see that. But it is a bit of an obvious thing. I don't know if I could have avoided that by doing something else. I might, examine that later on at another time. It's fairly minor, but it does make the sweater, it's not reversible. Like, there is a definite front side and back side. This is the back side. So anyway, I did not do a gauge swatch because I am an idiot. And that has presented itself as a bit of a problem because the sweater is slightly on the small side. I knit the smallest size for KALs, which was a 30-inch bust size. Delaney is a 28-inch bust size, so I thought, if I knit the 30, then she'll be able to wear it this year and next year, but I did not do a gauge swatch, and my gauge is off, and so this is slightly snug on Delaney right now. I have not blocked it. I am waiting. This is not the softest merino, and so even though Delaney is not as sensitive as Tatum is, she did mention, she goes, "Mom, will it stop itching?" when she tried it on for me yesterday. And so I have ordered some unicorn fiber rinse to soften it up. I know that will make a world of difference for Delaney because, as I said, she's not as sensitive as Tatum is. Plus, the blocking, I'm hoping, will make it just a little bit bigger. Now, she still will only be able to wear it for this winter, but that's okay. I got this yarn on a really good sale. I only used 4 skeins, so it's not like I spent a lot of money on it. But it is a sweater that she can wear this year. It is exactly what she was asking for, so I do think it will get a lot of use this year, and that's all that really matters. Tatum can wear hers, for this year and next year, and that's great, and I will just make Delaney a new one next year, and I'm okay with that. I do have some other yarn in my stash that I have kind of earmarked for another sweater for her anyway. So yeah, it is finished. I did end up, I don't know if I mentioned last week, but I had talked about how I was afraid I was going to run out of the purple. I went ahead and ordered a new skein. So I had 5 skeins total, 3 in the purple and 2 in the blue. I ended up with like 66 grams of the blue left over, which is a little over half a skein, and then just slightly over a full skein of the purple. But because I had to have like 3 different balls of the purple, it worked out well that I had that extra skein. So I've put those aside. I can use those. I have a sweater's quantity of this yarn in a really pretty green for myself, so I might save those to maybe do as an accent for that sweater for me. We'll see. Or, maybe I'll make something else for the kids, or maybe I will just give it to the kids to play with because they often like to take my leftover yarns and do crafts with them. So anyway, it's done. It's done. I have now knit both my kids their sweaters for this year. I feel like I am scoring points as mom. The only thing I have left to really knit for them this year is some socks, because I knit that pair of socks for Delaney and she was all excited about them. And then I promised Tatum that I would knit her a pair and then knit Delaney another pair and then Tatum another pair. So I have 3 pairs of kid socks that I still need to knit, and I have not managed to do any of that this month. But they have sweaters at least. Okay, so that is all of my finished objects, and I know I went on forever about that sweater, but there was a lot of information that went into it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into my whips. I have 2 hose, because if you recall, I had 3 pairs of socks that I needed to knit for my knit-alongs this month, and I've only managed to finish the Hip Over Halloween socks, so I am running out of time. There's only a week left in October, and I have to finish 2 pairs of socks, so thankfully I have 1 of each of those socks finished. For the box of socks, I have finished the first sock for that. This is A Million Stars in the We're All Mad Here colorway. I love this colorway. This was gifted to me by a friend years and years and years ago. I was in a partner swap, and she gave me 2 skeins. She had the dyer of A Million Stars dyed up especially for me, and then she gave me 2 skeins. And I ended up swapping one of the skeins a couple of years later. I destashed it. I sold it because we had an emergency bill come up, and I needed to find some money somewhere. And I kind of regret that, because I was going to make knee socks out of these, and I wish that I had been able to keep a hold of that, because these would have made awesome knee socks, don't you think? Anyway, so that first sock is done. The ends are woven in and everything, and I have started the second sock. Oops, right here. And you may notice that I've offset them. I just decided to go ahead and they're not going to be matchy-matchy. So I started this one on the blue, and I've started this one on the red. So it's going to be off by 1 stripe, and I love that. And I have, I don't know if you can see, that is my White Rabbit Progress Keeper, and I thought that would be perfect for these socks because they're called We're All Mad Here. So I should not have a problem finishing this sock before the end of the week, so you will definitely see this finished project by next week. And I'm hoping to be able to podcast next Tuesday as planned, but I do have a dentist appointment, yay, in the morning, and then it is Halloween. So, you know, my kids are going to be super excited. So hopefully my appointment will not take very long, and I can get it finished up and then come home and podcast. It's just a cleaning, so it's not like I'm going to be numb or anything like that. And then my other hoe, which is a half-finished object, by the way, is for the Desert Vista Dye Works KAL that I am in. And I just finished this late last night and wove in the ends. And that is this. This is in their Viso base, and it is the colorway Jan and Dean, and I love the way that it is knit up. I love the colors in it, and I'm just having so much fun knitting these socks. They're super, super duper fun. And I have a little Scarecrow Progress Keeper on these, although I will transfer this one to the second sock once I cast that on. But I haven't cast it on yet. I still don't think that I will have a problem finishing these up before next week. I have, you know, basically like 1 3/4 socks left to go, so that should not be a problem. I will be focusing on these so that I can get them done in time, and I'm excited to get them done in time because there's other things that I want to cast on. I'm really not feeling socks right now. Like, I really want to knit sweaters. And it is taking all of my, my willpower to be responsible and knit the blasted socks. I'm so close to the end of the year, so close to completing the Desert Vista Dye Works knit along and earning that free skein of that is in an exclusive colorway for those who knit all 12 socks. I only have 2.5 pairs of socks left to do, and then I will have done it all year long. And I am also very close to knitting all the 12 old stripies in my stash to qualify for my box of socks. Although I have to admit that there's been a couple of times in these past 2 or 3 months where I've been like, can't I just count one of the other socks that I knit this month for my box of socks? And then I tell myself, no, Christy, you pulled out 12 skeins specifically for this KAL, so you're going to knit those 12 skeins. So I do. And I have pulled out 12 skeins for next year. They're all Knit Early Things Vesper sock, and I'm super excited about it. But as I've mentioned before, I am only doing the box of socks KAL next year as this is specifically the only yarn that I can use for this KAL. There are other knit-alongs. I'm sure that Amber of the Yarn Hoarder podcast or Jody and Tracy of Grocery Girls will continue to do their monthly sock KALs. At least I expect they will. But those are like, whichever socks you want, you can include in those. So any other socks that I knit for that month, or the box of socks that I knit for that month. But with this one, with Lolo Did It, which has been super duper fun, but with Lolo Did It and DVD and the old stripies for box of socks, I've just felt a little overwhelmed now here at the end of the year. And again, all 3 of those KALs have been super fun, and I've really enjoyed the finished projects, and even really enjoyed knitting them up until just recently. And it's not that I'm not enjoying the knitting, it's just as I said, I want to knit sweaters right now. So anyway, I've rambled on about that long enough. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit, because that is all the whips I have. I still have Ron's second sock out of the Regia Perfect in cinnamon that I have to do. But that got set aside, and I will probably not get to that this month. I may cast the sock on, because I normally need a sock on the needles at all times in case I have a meeting or something to go to. But I won't get it finished in time. But I will get it done next month. But I do want to get into some of the future knitting that I want to do, some of the things that I'm going to cast on as soon as these socks are done. You've heard me talk about these things before, but I've kind of got them set up now, ready to go. For instance, in my autumn a single strand pyramid bag, which is just absolutely adorable. It's in my pumpkin bag with my pumpkin colored yarns, and I'm going to make the pumpkin spice lattes by pumpkin spice latte mitts by Skein Deer Knits. I am super excited about knitting this. I will post a picture here of what they look like. They're adorable, and I'm going to be making them out of Jameson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight in shade number 91 and 38 FC. And I think they're going to be adorable. So I am just waiting for those socks to be finished so I can cast these on. Also, I'm waiting for my printer to be fixed. There's something wrong with my printer. I changed the ink. I have an HP printer, and I changed the ink, and now it won't print black at all. And I'm bummed, because you need a lot of black when you print things out, at least if you're a grown-up. And so I can't print out any patterns right now, which is bumming me out. So hopefully I'll get that fixed soon. But yeah, that one is all ready to go. And then in my kitchen clutter bag, I love this bag so much, I have all the yarns for my So Faded by Andrea Mowry. This is something that I've wanted to knit ever since the pattern first came out. And I'm super, super excited about it. I picked out yarn that I purchased specially for it, and I've just been waiting. And I know that autumn is probably not the time to knit a fingering weight pullover, but that's what I'm gonna do. I can still wear it inside the house, even if I can't use it much to stave off the chill in the air. And I am using all Yarn Cafe Creations yarn for this because, well, Cristi at Yarn Cafe Creations, who is one half of the Girls at the Yarn Cafe podcast, I will link those down below. She's a very talented dyer, and she has a great name, and her colorways just seem to work so well. Plus her prices are really, really good. She has raised the prices slightly recently, but I did purchase these like right before that. And so I kind of got them for a little bit cheaper. But I am going to be using Ocean Mist, which is one of her most famous colors. It's mostly white with a mint tinge to it, and there are speckles of orange and yellow and green in there, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I am going to fade that into Pumpkin Carving, which is probably one of my favorite of her colorways. So it is orange, obviously, with the same kind of green speckles, and then some pink, a little bit of purple in there as well. And then I'm going to fade that into Selkie, which is darker, like it's kind of like a darker version of Ocean Mist, and it has, you know, more of that teal color and some orange speckles and purple speckles. And the reason why purple speckles are important is because I don't know if I can hold all of these things. Let's see, I'll do it this way. Ha ha! I'm a genius. I'm going to fade that into Forest Nymphs, which is this one, which is a purple base, which pulls in the purples from the speckles there, but it also has speckles of the orange and the teal that all of these carry. So I think it kind of carries along the whole line, and I think it is going to work out perfectly. I am going to make the full-size fade, so it'll be full body length and full sleeve length, and I'm super looking forward to it. Now that I have finished Delaney's sweater, this is the next sweater that I will be working on, and yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. So again, all I'm kind of waiting for is to get at least one of those pairs of socks done before I cast this on, and get my printer fixed. I'm so upset about my printer. I get HP ink from HP. They deliver it for a monthly fee. I can print out so many pages, and then they deliver the ink whenever I need it. My printer tells them when I'm running out, and it's nice. But as I said, I now can't print in black. I suppose I could save those patterns in a Word file and change the color, because I can print in color. My color cartridges work fine, but for some reason I changed the black cartridge and now it won't print in black, and I've done everything. I gotta contact HP again because they sent me a replacement cartridge in case the first cartridge was defective, but the second cartridge doesn't print either. It came yesterday and it still doesn't print. So I don't know if my if it's actually my printer, like is my printer died. I've only had it for not even a year and a half. I don't know how long they're supposed to last, but I feel like it should not have died already. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm bummed. You never realize how much you need to print until you can't print all of a sudden. So, okay, so those things, expect to see those cast on by next week. I'm excited about both of those projects. And then, as I said, I will probably, if I get those 2 pairs of socks done in time, then I will cast on Ron's sock. So you should see that also cast on next week, the second sock for Ron's socks. And then next podcast, which is the last day of October, I will show you my socks, the skeins that I've picked out for my November socks. So, okay, where am I now? I guess yarn haul. That's what's next, right? I have some fun yarn hauls. As you may know, Erin of Bling Your String has been doing a monthly sock blank club where she posts an inspiration picture at the first day of each month, and then you can order the sock blank, and she dyes it going off of that picture. So you don't know what the blank is going to look like, but you do get an idea of what colors are going to be involved in it. And she includes a set of stitch markers in the size that you would like, and a handmade, by her, I assume. Erin, you are making these clay progress keepers that go along with the theme. And then there might be one other treat here and again. I have gotten a couple, I think 3. I got there was one in like June or July. No, it must have been June, the jelly bean one. And then I got the September, I think it was September one. It was Lakeside. And then this one was, I think it like Witch's Brew or something like that. And here it is. Oh, I love it. It's a gorgeous blue base, and then you've got these browns and greens and oranges in there. I think these are going to make some gorgeous socks. And I like how it's kind of Halloween-y, but not obvious Halloween-y, you know. Don't get me wrong, I love Halloween colors, but, you know, you end up purchasing all the Halloween colors and then they all look the same. They're all orange and neon green and black and purple, and this one is not. But it's still Halloween-y, you know. So yeah, I'm excited about this. Erin, you did a good job. And I kind of have a feeling that November's color is going to be awesome as well, so I will definitely be ordering that. I will link her shop down below, of course, so that you can check it out as well. But she won't put up the inspiration picture until November 1st, so don't try looking for it now because you can't find it. And then I got these stitch markers, which just tie in really well, and then there's a focus stitch marker with a witch's hat on it, which I think is adorable. This time I got the regular size, which fits up to a US 10.5. I have to admit, I think that these are great, and she's very talented at making them, but I have to admit that I don't use dangly stitch markers, so I am saving these for prizes for the knit-alongs that we have, and for the giveaways that we have in the podcast. Whew. So if you are a fan of dangly stitch markers, then know that these will probably show up eventually. They're very well made, as I said, and they're super duper cute, but I just find dangly stitch markers to drive me insane. I just want rings. Rings that can't snag on anything. That's all I ever really use. But I do use progress keepers, and she outdid herself with Progress Keeper this month. I'll try to post a picture so you can see, but it is a cauldron that is bubbling forth with some probably dastardly brew. And I think it's adorable, and it's sparkly, and she just does such a great job. These are awesome, and I use these all the time. In fact, I'm going to put this on my next project so that I can get some use out of it before Halloween next week. Oh, and then she also included some gummy candies. There's an eyeball and 2 frogs, which my children will steal from me because they're rotten that way. Evil children. And then, as I mentioned, Lolo Did It just posted her Hippo for Thanksgiving colorway. And of course I ordered it as soon as I saw it because I'm not missing out on a Hippo colorway this year. No way, no how. And I absolutely love it. I love it almost as much as the Hippo for Halloween. You know what, honestly, I love autumn. I love autumnal colors they're my jam. I mean, everything about green and brown and orange and yellow and red, they just make me happy. And this one is awesome. I love just these little bits of yellow here at the top, and then there's, brown, of course, and then some great rust reds, and then some greens. Can you see the greens there? I think it's gorgeous. And as I want to do, I got a little Lolo to go with it for heels and toes, and I got Sweetness this time, which I think is a very good companion to that. And I also picked up another Lolo in Blazing Sevens because, as I said, this is my favorite of her tonals. In fact, I honestly should have just gotten a whole skein of this because I could use this as accents for so many things. But that is my Lolo Did It purchase for this month. Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to the end of the Hippo colorways. Hear me out, wait. Because I have to kind of limit how much I buy. And I still end up buying way too much yarn each month. But I do try to limit. And so I have only ever been able to purchase, with the exception of that one sweater's quantity in her worsted base, I have only ever been able to purchase Hippo colorways from Lolo, or from Lauren. Her name is Lauren. Because I can't justify purchasing multiple skeins from her shop because there's other dyers that I want to buy from too. And so when the Hippos are done and I have finished all of the Hippo colorways, then I will be able to buy other colorways because her colorways are awesome. They really, really are. She is very good at what she does. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to do that. And then speaking of awesome dyers, probably my favorite dyer out there, and not only is she super duper talented as a dyer, but she's a super duper awesome person. I have got Carrie from the Creative Obsessions Christmas colorway, and I didn't manage to get the collaboration that she did with Bags by Awesome Granny to get the bag, but she did put out a few of the colorways of the yarn after the kit sold out, and I grabbed one of those, and it is Slothmas. And it's a perfect colorway. It's got green and gray and red and white, and I absolutely love it. And of course it came with, well, I purchased a little mini for heels, toes, and cuffs. And Carrie is currently knitting on this colorway, and man, every time that I think, oh yeah, no, I can resist that colorway, and then she starts knitting with it, and I totally fall in love. Seriously. I absolutely love the way her stuff knits up. And now I have several skeins. I need to knit them. These will be knit next month. Or December, but I will have these for Christmas socks to wear on Christmas morning. And okay, that is all of the yarn haul that I have this week. It's a good haul. I'm very excited about all three of those skeins. They're going to make awesome socks. And that would put us at the end of the knitting for this episode. I'm now going to go into books, so you are welcome to hang around and listen to books if you're interested. If not, I will see you guys next week. So as you know, probably, I have been in a very strong thriller kick lately. All of September and October, I have basically just read horror or thriller books, and I've been really enjoying it. I will say that I am getting to the end of that. Like, I'm kind of wanting to read something that doesn't involve dastardly deeds and murder. But I haven't stopped yet. So let me go over what I read in the past week. I had mentioned that I was going to be starting Karen Slaughter's book, but I hadn't gotten to it. I was still waiting for it on hold from the library. So I picked up Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This is the second book that she ever wrote. I also read Sharp Objects, but I read that a week before. That was the first book, and then she is famous for Gone Girl. That's the one that really blew everybody's mind, and I read that a couple of years ago. So Dark Places it's a story about a woman who is now in her 30s, and she was the sole survivor of just a massacre of her family, her mom and her two sisters, and her brother has been in jail for the past 28 years for committing the murder. And she, through some interesting turn of events, she decides to go through and kind of reinvestigate everything, because she was only 7 when it happened, and she doesn't know if what she remembers was really what she remembers, or if it was just what she was encouraged to remember. And so, yeah, it's an interesting story. It goes back to the 80s. The murder happened in the 80s, and so I kind of identified with it in that, because her brother was supposed to have killed the whole family because he was a Satanist. And I don't know if you recall back in the 80s when everybody was so worried about all these kids listening to heavy metal, and that if you played them backwards there was satanic messages and yada yada yada. So it was interesting to remember all of that from my childhood. And it was an interesting story. It has also been made into a movie with Charlize Theron. She plays the main character, and I think she did a pretty good job with it. It was an interesting movie, and it kept fairly close to the book. They did a pretty good job. I mean, not exactly, but fairly close, and I enjoyed it. So, if you like psychological thrillers, this would be a decent one to go with. It's not quite as twisted as Gone Girl, although it's kind of twisted, so just be prepared for that. And yeah, the same with Sharp Objects. I can see that she kind of grew in her writing. Sharp Objects wasn't bad either, although I would say that Dark Places is slightly better than Sharper Objects, and then Gone Girl is written slightly better than the first two. So, but Gillian Flynn is really coming into her own. I'll be interested to see what she comes up with next. And then, because the Karen Slaughter book still wasn't available, I picked up Pretty Baby by Mary Kupika. This is another arc that I had gotten from the publisher and never managed to read. And it's interesting. I got this when it first came out, which August 2015. And I decided that I would go back and read her first book, which was The Good Girl. And I did. And I just felt kind of okay about it. And it kind of put me off reading this book. The Good Girl was just all right. But it didn't really do it for me. So I didn't end up reading this. Well, since I'm trying to read these psychological thrillers, this was one. It was one that my library had the audiobook available, so I went ahead and read it. And you know what? I kind of felt the same way about this one as I did The Good Girl. It was just okay. It's supposed to be a thriller, so you're supposed to be shocked and upholstered. And I never get to that point. I find it a little bit too easy to figure out, and I don't try to figure out, because I like having that moment, but I just don't seem to get those with her, and I just find that I don't really like the characters enough, and even, I don't know, she doesn't really do it for me. So I think that I'm going to write off Mary Kubica as an author for me. She doesn't do it badly. And I know that a lot of people do like her books, and that's great. I just don't think they're for me. I've read better thriller writers, and yeah. So it's not worth investing my time. But as I said, it was okay. It wasn't a bad book. I just don't think that I want to invest. It's not good enough for me to invest time in another book. So yeah, she's got another one that just came out last year, and I think one that's coming out this year or has just come out. I don't have any interest in them anymore. But now I have read it, and I posted my review, and I've done my end of the bargain for this arc. And then finally, the book by Karen Slaughter came available through the library. So I have just started this yesterday. I'm only like 11 pages in. This is Pretty Girls, and I read The Good Daughter, which is her most recent book, just a couple of weeks ago, and I was really impressed with that, so I'm hoping that I will like this one as well. This book came out in September of 2015, so it's a little bit older, but I am hoping that I will enjoy it as much as I did The Good Daughter. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, like I said, I'm only 10 pages in, so I don't have much of an opinion yet. And then after I finish that, I will pick up Horns by Joe Hill. And this is not, I think this is true horror, not thriller. Like, this isn't like the other ones where it's, kind of like a murder mystery or stuff like that. This is, I don't know the premise of this book, but Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King. Stephen King is the king of horror, so I kind of expect that this is going to be more scary than it is thrillery. And I do know that they made this into a movie with Daniel Radcliffe, so I am looking forward to reading this book and watching the movie. And this is another one that I will be listening to on audio. I really like listening to audiobooks, and while I am doing other things. In fact, while I was finishing up Delaney's sweater yesterday, because I had to focus on what was in front of me, and I couldn't, I could have watched something, but I wouldn't have been able to really pay attention to what I was watching and enjoy it. So instead, I sat up here and I finished up Pretty Baby on audio while I finished Delaney's sweater. So it worked out really well. So I'm looking forward to this. I will start this as soon as I finish Pretty Girls. And then the book that I am currently reading in physical form is this one. This is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. Stephanie Perkins is famous for writing YA contemporary romances. Yeah, this is... She wrote Anna and the French Kiss, and then Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla and the Happily Ever After. I have read Anna and the French Kiss, and it was okay. I haven't read the other two, but I do have them on my shelf. She also edited these two collections of short stories. My True Love Gave to Me, which was 12 holiday stories, and Summer Days and Summer Nights, which was 12 love stories set in the summer. And she edited and then wrote a story for each. So that's basically what she does. She does, like, kind of kitschy kid, YA romance. So it was kind of surprising that she was writing a slasher horror book. But I was interested in it. It's supposed to be very much like Scream, the movies from the 90s, very teen slasher. And I'm about halfway through. And you know what? It's getting a lot of guff for the fact that there's a lot of romance still in it. Not like sex scenes, but kids falling in love in school, and I'm actually enjoying that it kind of offsets the slasher bits. I'm enjoying it quite a lot, actually, a lot more than I was expecting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it. I'm about halfway through. But if you like horror, but not too terribly scary, because it's really not too terribly scary, then this might be a good one to pick up at the library. But I am enjoying it. I of course don't have, this is just the dust jacket because the book is in my room. But yeah, it's kind of enjoyable. It's fun. And yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to read after I finish that for physical books. I do still have some horror physical books that I need to get through. Ones that don't have audiobooks that the library has available. And so I will probably hit some of those at least for the next week or two. And then I may end up moving on to something else after that. I did kind of set aside September, October, and November for horror books, but I may end up switching that out. Once Halloween is over, it's hard to kind of hold on to that horror feel. So anyway, all right, guys, I think that is it. My battery is going to die any moment. I'm surprised it hasn't died yet. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and I will talk to you next week. Happy knitting.